Hello and welcome to The New Normal, the magazine that shows you how the coronavirus is affecting communities across the globe. This week, we take you to Venezuela, to Senegal, to Lebanon and to Italy. But we start off in Peru. With 600,000 cases and 27,000 deaths, the country has been hit hard by the pandemic and the hospital system is overwhelmed. The lack of staff, beds and medical equipment is forcing many Peruvians to nurse COVID patients at home. But families are struggling to pay for medical supplies. So a group of mayors has decided to offer free oxygen. It's a report by Francisco Zacaria for France 24 Spanish.
49-year-old Jose Gonzalez is in critical condition.
No te preocupes, José, todo va a salir bien, hijito.
Jose was diagnosed with COVID 3 weeks ago. With no bed available in hospitals, his family is doing its best to take care of him at home. They don't have the money to buy medicine or even oxygen to help him breathe. That's why Jose's sister-in-law visits the free distribution unit that's in their area.
Necesita, requiere el oxígeno, no puede estar sin el oxígeno, le falta el aire, su corazón ya se le siente que se lo está apagando su corazón. Sin el oxígeno él no puede estar.
Like Jose, many of the sick depend on this mobile unit that does the rounds of Lima's poorest neighborhoods. A doctor's certificate is all that's needed for a free oxygen refill. This young man is the new mayor of a town on Lima's outskirts. He lost his father to the virus in July. Now he wants to support the most destitute.
El Perú sufre y adolece de un déficit tremendo en cuanto al oxígeno, ¿no? Razón por la cual nosotros, los gobiernos locales, nos hemos tenido que unir para trabajar estrategias distintas a las que viene trabajando el gobierno, pero son estrategias que esperemos que sean replicadas por el gobierno nacional.
Official figures show Peru has close to 500,000 COVID-19 cases. This young man also worries his uncle will run out of oxygen.
No sabría si se acaba el oxígeno, no sabríamos la verdad qué hacer. Sí, son mucha gente que necesitan. Varias personas, familiares, conocidos, amigos, necesitan realmente el oxígeno.
Julia has succeeded in getting Jose's tank refilled. Until the government is able to import more oxygen, the survival of the country's poorest patients will depend on such handouts.
In Venezuela, the people have been in lockdown since March. To help them cope, a DJ has decided to go out on his rooftop and play music for his neighbors in one of Caracas's worst-hit areas. Residents can call in to listen to their favorite tunes and dance on their balconies.
Creamos Tu Voz y la Mía, que es una especie de programa radial, más no salimos por emisora, por frecuencia, sino totalmente en vivo. Y a partir de ese momento, la gente carente de esa necesidad de esparcimiento, de tener algo de distracción, ha habido una muy buena receptividad y un feedback.
COVID cases are on the rise in Lebanon. The authorities have decided to impose a new lockdown in order to avoid a second wave that could prove catastrophic at a time where half of Beirut's hospitals have been destroyed by the huge blast that rocked the city at the beginning of August. It's a report by Clovis Kazali and Georgi Yazbek.
The roof collapsed and all the windows were smashed. This hospital in Beirut needs major rebuilding. Aline and the other nurses have no place to work in a time where Lebanon is desperate for health staff.
هلا في مشكل بالبلد اكيد في مشكل لانه نحن كمستشفيات اللي هن هودي مستشفيات كبيره كانوا يساعوا كثير اشياء هلا كثير مرضى هلا المرضى ما بعرف وين عم بيروحوا.
The devastating blast at the port left half of the capital's hospitals unable to function. Here, some boxes of medicine were rescued and are sent to clinics still open. Lebanon has seen a surge of coronavirus cases, with now more than 10,000 people infected and no beds available in intensive care units in Beirut these last few days. Authorities have imposed a new lockdown, and the people are worried as the economic crisis deepens.
شو بدنا نعمل يعني بدنا نقعد بالبيت نتكتف ما بيوتنا راحت ما بقى في شيء كله دمار شو عملوا فينا شو بعد بدهم خلينا نموت بالكورونا أحسن.
Personne ne travaille, personne n'a de l'argent pour ranger les maisons. Le dollar, c'est à 8 000 livres libanaises. Un mètre du vitre, c'est $20, donc 160 000. Qui peut payer 700?
Given the scope of devastation, authorities are allowing essential workers to fulfill their duties. In the neighborhoods worst hit, like here in Mach Michael, rebuilding doesn't stop. Volunteers are still cleaning up the rubble and handing out food to those most in need. And then you've got the hospital staff still working despite the lockdown. They've been on the front line since the outbreak of coronavirus cases, and they've seen thousands of patients rushed in after the blast at the port of Beirut.
It is a small nut that accounts for a large chunk of Senegal's economy. Cashew nuts are produced in the southern Casamance province of the country, a business worth 50 million euros a year that employs 30,000 people, a whole sector that is now at risk due to the coronavirus and exports that have plummeted. It's a report by Sarah Sacco, Emilan Dao and Emmanuel Landais.
Ali, an Indian exporter, has been based in Ziguinchor since 2013. Every year he buys tons of cashew nuts from local farmers and stores them in this warehouse. The nuts produced in Casamance are very popular on the Asian market.
Bonne qualité, c'est prêt pour exporter.
But today Ali's struggling to sell his stock. The 2,000 tons of nuts he bought haven't moved an inch. This time last year he'd sold more than 5,000.
International markets has been collapsed because of the pandemic, and it's difficult to sell it actually, the cashew by international level. So that is the main thing. You know, we have already bought the quantity here, and to sell we are facing big problem now.
The situation's affected the entire supply chain. The local workforce has taken the hardest hit.
Des fois, magasin bu nekk mën na jël un nombre de 40 effectifs, mais en ce moment-là, dañu jël ba ay 10 wala 11. État bi 11 la waxoon maximum.
The whole southern Casamance region's been impacted by the cashew nut crisis, especially female workers who are usually employed to process and prepare the nuts. In this unit, a dozen women shell and roast the cashews. But due to COVID-19, these nuts will likely never be sold.
Bi ñu tàmbalee ne feebar bi mi ngi am mu fekk mu am sunu produit yu fi jóge demoon France ci benn foire genre foire bu fa amoon ñuy préparer tamit fii Sénégal fiera bi kon foofu bu nattu amee rek yàq-yàq day am parce que fekk na liggéey nañu sunu produit ñu ngi ko stocké mënuñu ko écouler.
The tasty nut has left a foul taste in the mouths of industry employees. To help the sector get through the pandemic, the government's promised 6.5 billion CFA francs, around 10 million euros, to bail out the industry.
Across Europe, the cinema industry has taken a severe hit with the pandemic. The Italians, though, have come up with a solution. They've brought back good old drive-in cinemas, just like in the 50s, a way to mix large audiences and social distancing. It's a report by Natalia Mendoza, our correspondent in Rome.
Another traffic jam this afternoon in Rome, but this time for a good reason. These film buffs are going to enjoy an open-air screening, a drive-in cinema that allows for safe viewing. With everyone in their own car, social distancing is guaranteed.
Ha inciso quello, il fatto che non si può andare più in una sala chiusa all'aperto, è un diversivo.
Continuare, diciamo, la vita che si faceva prima, però in sicurezza.
With 500 places available, spread out over 60,000 square meters, it's the biggest drive-in cinema in Europe. The objective is to give the audience the opportunity to rediscover the magic of cinema.
La gente ha bisogno di cinema, di conseguenza non c'è bisogno della mascherina, non hai bisogno di niente e soprattutto che la gente in macchina sente bene e sta tranquilla, serena e di conseguenza il futuro del cinema potrebbe essere questo.
Once night has fallen and the radios have been synchronized to get the soundtrack, the show begins.
Io ti ho appena detto che mi sono innamorato di un'altra donna e tu ti metti a dormire.
For some, drive-in cinemas is a new experience, but for others, it's a nostalgic return to the past.
Ho vissuto quando ero giovane anch'io, insomma, quindi più o meno è rimasto come era, insomma. Anzi, ricordare quel periodo è stata una cosa bella.
Ci hanno fatto un bel regalo perché almeno andiamo al cinema la sera, usciamo da casa, che siamo insieme, a casa siamo solo.
For €10 per vehicle, film fans are able to continue enjoying the big screen until the time cinemas fully reopen in Italy.
Basta che non mi menti perché non me lo merito. Non me lo merito.
That's it for this edition. I'd like to thank Jonathan Walsh for the camera work, Camille Février for producing the show, and I leave you with these pictures of Bali. The famous island will remain closed to foreigners till the end of 2020, of course, to fight against the coronavirus. Thank you for watching. Please do stay safe and stay tuned to France 24.